I'll never forget the day an older gentleman, a retired teacher, came into my clinic complaining of relentless fatigue. He was in obvious distress, but his eyes told the story that quiet, unshakable exhaustion that no amount of coffee or naps could fix. He told me he felt as though his body was slipping away year by year, even though he exercised, ate well, and never smoked. After running some tests, I found the culprit. It wasn't heart disease. It wasn't diabetes. It wasn't even his sleep. It was something so deceptively simple that most people, especially seniors, overlook it every single day. A missing nutrient, a vitamin so critical to aging well that I still call it the anti-aging switch inside the body. And the shocking truth, most older adults are dangerously low on it. Now, when I say vitamin, you probably think of something basic, like vitamin C for immunity or calcium for bones. But what I uncovered is far more sinister. This vitamin deficiency silently ages your body from the inside out, leaving joints stiff, memory foggy, and energy flatlined. And yet, it almost never shows up until it's too late. Doctors miss it, families ignore it, and seniors suffer quietly, believing it's just normal aging. But aging doesn't have to feel like this. I've spent years working with older patients, and I can tell you that when this one nutrient is corrected, the transformation is often nothing short of miraculous. I've seen men in their 70s regain the sharpness they thought was gone forever. I've seen women walk without the joint pain that once kept them homebound. I've even seen skin, hair, and nails improve, all because of this overlooked vitamin. The reason this happens is deceptively simple. As we age, the body becomes less efficient at absorbing nutrients. The stomach produces less acid. The kidneys process things differently. And even if you're eating the right foods, they don't get broken down or delivered as they should. On top of that, modern lifestyles add insult to injury. Prescription medications, processed foods, and lack of sun exposure, all of these create the perfect storm for deficiency. But here's what made me pause. In medical school, I was taught to look for dramatic symptoms: anemia, bone fractures, neurological decline. Yet in the real world, deficiency is more subtle. Seniors simply feel weaker, duller, and older than they should. And because the decline is gradual, they accept it as inevitable. But it's not inevitable. It's preventable. And it starts with recognizing which vitamin is missing. You might be thinking, is it vitamin D? Is it B12? Maybe magnesium? Those are common guesses, and each plays a role in healthy aging. But the one I'm talking about is both more vital and more overlooked than any of those. What shocked me most is that it's hiding in plain sight, woven into so many foods we once relied on, but modern farming, processing, and eating habits have stripped it away. That retired teacher I mentioned earlier, when I restored his levels, within weeks he told me, "Doctor, I feel like myself again." I didn't realize how much life I was missing. His words stuck with me because they weren't about just having more energy or sharper thinking. They were about reclaiming dignity, independence, and joy. And that's why I feel compelled to share this with you today. Because if you or someone you love is quietly struggling with creeping fatigue, aching joints, or that frustrating memory fog, it may not be age at all. It may be this silent deficiency. What is this anti-aging vitamin that so many seniors are dangerously ignoring every single day? The answer may shock you, because chances are it's sitting right in your kitchen, yet your body isn't getting enough of it. And once I reveal what it is, you'll understand why doctors like me call it the hidden key to healthy aging. But first, let me explain just how devastating the deficiency really is and why so many seniors never realize they're suffering from it. I began to notice a disturbing pattern in my practice. Seniors would come in with vague complaints: fatigue, mood swings, muscle weakness, even numbness or tingling in their hands and feet. Often, these issues were brushed off as just getting older. But the more I listened, the more I realized these weren't simply the whispers of age. They were warning signs, silent red flags of a vitamin deficiency hiding in plain sight. One woman, a grandmother of 6, told me she kept forgetting where she put her keys, her glasses, even conversations she'd had just hours earlier. She laughed it off, saying, "Doctor, I guess this is senior brain." But I didn't laugh, because I knew what could be lurking underneath. Another patient, a man in his late 60s, described a deep, aching pain in his legs that came and went, making it hard to walk. He thought it was arthritis, but I wasn't convinced. And sure enough, the tests revealed the same pattern over and over again: dangerously low vitamin B12. Yes, B12, the so-called energy vitamin. But it's far more than that. B12 is essential for making red blood cells, protecting nerve function, and even producing DNA. Without it, the body slowly unravels. The brain misfires, muscles weaken, balance falters, and memory, that precious sense of self, begins to slip away. Here's the shocking truth. Studies show that up to 20% of adults over 60 are deficient in B12, and many don't even know it. The numbers are likely higher because so many cases go undiagnosed. Why? Because the symptoms are so easily mistaken for normal aging. Tiredness? That's just age. Memory slips? Age. Numbness in the feet? Must be circulation. Except it's not always age. Sometimes it's this one missing vitamin. And the danger doesn't stop at mild symptoms. Severe B12 deficiency can lead to irreversible nerve damage, depression, and even dementia-like symptoms. I've seen patients misdiagnosed with Alzheimer's when the true cause was something as simple, as correctable, as low B12. Imagine the heartbreak of believing your loved one is slipping away, when in fact their brain is starving for a nutrient that costs just pennies a day to replace. So why are seniors so vulnerable? The answer lies in biology. As the stomach ages, it produces less intrinsic factor, a special protein needed to absorb B12 from food. Add to that the widespread use of acid-suppressing medications, which block absorption even further, and you have a recipe for widespread deficiency. Vegetarians and vegans are especially at risk, since B12 is found primarily in animal products. But even meat eaters can't escape if their stomach and gut can't pull the vitamin from their food. It doesn't help that the early signs of deficiency are subtle. A little fatigue here, some forgetfulness there. By the time it escalates into severe neurological symptoms, the damage can be permanent. That's what keeps me up at night as a doctor. How many seniors are quietly losing pieces of themselves day by day without realizing it's preventable? The solution is just to eat more meat or take a random multivitamin. Absorption matters, and the way seniors take B12 can make the difference between staying sharp and independent or sliding into decline. They'll share the most effective strategies shortly, because I've seen firsthand how the right approach can give someone their life back. But here's something I must emphasize. Ignoring this deficiency is not an option. The risks are too high, and the signs too subtle. If you or someone you love has ever brushed off fatigue, memory lapses, or strange tingling sensations as just aging, I urge you don't ignore it. It could be the warning call of B12 deficiency. The next step is critical, because once you understand how this deficiency silently ages the brain, the nerves, and even the heart, you'll never look at normal aging the same way again. And I'll tell you exactly why so many doctors miss it and what you can do to protect yourself. I can't tell you how many times I've looked at lab results and shaken my head in disbelief. Patients would come in with every classic sign of vitamin B12 deficiency, yet their blood work often came back normal. And that's one of the most dangerous traps, because the standard blood tests don't always tell the full story. Let me explain. The typical test most doctors order is serum B12. If the number falls within a wide reference range, the patient is told, "You're fine." But here's the catch: those ranges are outdated. A level that looks normal on paper may still be far too low for optimal brain and nerve function. In fact, research shows that seniors can suffer from neurological damage even at levels many labs call acceptable. That means countless people are walking around, slowly deteriorating, while their doctors reassure them they're healthy. This is exactly what happened with a man I'll call Richard. He was a retired engineer, sharp-minded his whole life. But he came to me worried about memory problems. He would lose track of conversations, struggle with simple math, and sometimes forget where he was driving. His previous doctor told him his blood work was fine, but when I ran more specific tests, homocysteine and methylmalonic acid, the truth became clear. Richard was starving for B12. His normal test result had masked a severe deficiency. The moment I saw those numbers, I knew what we were dealing with. What shocked me was how long he had been told to just accept aging. Within weeks of starting the right treatment, his wife told me he seemed like himself again. His confidence returned. His smile returned. That's when I realized the greatest danger of B12 deficiency isn't the deficiency itself. It's the fact that it hides in plain sight, disguised as aging. And let's talk about the damage it causes. When the body lacks B12, homocysteine levels rise, and that's a big red flag for heart disease and stroke. Nerves lose their protective coating, leading to tingling, numbness, and balance problems. The brain struggles to make neurotransmitters, causing depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. Every system suffers, yet most patients never hear these connections explained. I once had a woman in her 70s who fell 3 times in a single month. She swore it was just clumsiness, but her feet were numb because her nerves were literally dying. Imagine how frightening that is to lose control of your own body without knowing why. Her risk of a hip fracture, a hospitalization, even permanent disability skyrocketed, all because her B12 levels weren't addressed in time. And here's the harsh truth. By the time severe damage sets in, some of it may be irreversible. That's why I tell every senior who will listen, don't wait until you're falling, forgetting, or losing your independence. Take action early. Be proactive, because B12 deficiency is a thief. It doesn't just steal energy, it steals years of quality life. I've seen patients dismissed, told to just exercise more or get better sleep. I've seen families heartbroken as their loved one is labeled with dementia, when the real culprit was nutritional. And I've seen the incredible joy when, after correcting the deficiency, someone regains clarity, energy, and hope. That's the transformation I want for everyone listening to my voice right now. But how do we get there? Not every solution works for every person. Pills don't always absorb. Food alone isn't enough for many seniors, and some treatments are far more effective than others. In the next part, I'll walk you through the safest, most reliable ways to restore B12 and how to make sure your body actually uses it. Because the right method can mean the difference between frustration and freedom. When patients ask me how to fix their B12 deficiency, I don't give them a one-size-fits-all answer. Because the truth is, what works for one senior may do nothing for another. That's why so many people get discouraged. They try a basic supplement, feel no change, and assume it doesn't matter. But B12 absolutely matters. The key is understanding how the body absorbs it. Let's start with food. Naturally, B12 is found in animal products: beef, fish, poultry, eggs, and dairy. In theory, eating a balanced diet should cover your needs. But here's the problem. As we age, the stomach produces less acid and less intrinsic factor, the special protein required to absorb B12. That means even if you're eating steak or salmon, your body may not be pulling the vitamin out of it. Add in acid-reducing medications, which millions of seniors take for reflux, and absorption can plummet even further. So while food is the foundation, it's rarely enough on its own for older adults. Next, we have oral supplements: tablets, capsules, or gummies. These can help, but only if your digestive system is working properly. For many seniors, the pill just passes through without making much impact. That's why some of my patients feel frustrated. They take their vitamins faithfully, but still feel exhausted, foggy, or weak. The pill alone simply isn't doing the job. This is where sublingual B12 comes in drops or dissolvable tablets placed under the tongue. Instead of relying on the gut, they're absorbed directly into the bloodstream through tiny blood vessels under the tongue. Many of my patients notice more energy and clarity with this method. It bypasses the very absorption issue that makes deficiency so common in the first place. And then there are injections. For severe cases, or when symptoms are advanced, injections are often the fastest and most reliable way to restore B12. I've had patients come into my office barely able to keep their eyes open, dragging themselves through the day. After a series of injections, it's as if someone switched the lights back on. They walk taller. They laugh again. They remember things clearly. For some, injections are a lifesaver. But here's the hopeful part. No matter the method, restoring B12 levels can produce incredible results. I've seen patients regain balance they thought was gone forever. I've seen depression lift like a fog after months of despair. And I've seen memory sharpen in ways that brought tears to families' eyes, all from correcting what seemed like a small deficiency. There's also a profound emotional shift that happens. Imagine spending years believing you're in decline, that aging is stealing your independence, only to discover you can reclaim much of it. That spark, that dignity, that sense of being yourself again, it's priceless. And it's possible. Still, there's one thing I warn every patient: don't self-diagnose and don't self-treat blindly. Because while B12 is generally safe, the wrong approach can mask underlying problems or delay proper care. For example, taking B12 can hide anemia caused by folate deficiency, or it can make you feel better for a while without addressing why your levels dropped in the first place. That's why testing the right kind of testing is so critical. And here's something most people don't realize: the earlier you act, the greater the recovery. Nerves can heal, but only up to a point. Memory can improve, but damage left too long may be permanent. Every month of delay increases the risk of losing something you can't get back. That's why I stress urgency. If you've noticed fatigue, tingling, mood changes, or memory lapses, don't wait. But here's where things get even more concerning. B12 deficiency doesn't just affect the mind and nerves. It reaches into the heart, the blood, and even longevity itself. And what I uncovered next still shakes me, because it revealed how this deficiency accelerates aging in ways most people never imagine. One of the most chilling discoveries in my years of practice was realizing just how far the effects of B12 deficiency can spread. I had always associated it with fatigue, mood changes, and nerve problems. But then I began seeing a disturbing connection. Patients with low B12 often had higher risks of heart problems, strokes, and even shortened lifespans. At first, I thought it was coincidence, but then I dug deeper. What I found made my heart sink. Low B12 levels lead to elevated homocysteine, a toxic amino acid that builds up in the blood. And homocysteine is just a lab number. It corrodes blood vessels, makes the blood stickier, and dramatically increases the risk of heart disease and stroke. I remember reading the research and thinking, how many people are quietly walking around with this time bomb in their veins, all because of a missing vitamin? I had a patient named Margaret, a vibrant woman in her 70s who loved gardening. She came to me after a minor stroke left her struggling with speech. When I reviewed her labs, her B12 was shockingly low, and her homocysteine was through the roof. No one had connected the dots before. She had been told her stroke was simply bad luck and age. But I knew better. Her body had been waving red flags for years, and they were ignored. And this is where B12 deficiency becomes truly sinister. It doesn't just rob you of energy or memory. It quietly chips away at the very systems that keep you alive. The heart, the brain, the blood, and the cruel part, the damage doesn't announce itself until it's already advanced. Even bone health suffers. Few people realize this, but elevated homocysteine weakens the collagen matrix in bones, raising the risk of fractures. I've seen seniors break a hip after a minor fall, never regaining their independence, when in reality their bones were compromised by years of hidden deficiency. And yes, even mood and mental health are tied in. Low B12 has been linked to depression, anxiety, and a greater risk of cognitive decline. Imagine carrying all of this weight on your shoulders, not knowing the solution was as simple as restoring one vitamin. This is why I call B12 the anti-aging vitamin. It's not a miracle pill, and it's not about vanity. It's about protecting the very systems that define healthy aging: sharp memory, strong nerves, steady balance, resilient bones, and a healthy heart. Without B12, aging accelerates. With it, the body has a fighting chance to thrive. But I know what some of you might be thinking. If B12 is so important, why isn't every doctor screening for it aggressively? The sad truth is, many are still trained to look only for extreme deficiencies, the kind that cause obvious anemia or neurological collapse. Mild to moderate deficiencies, which are far more common, slip under the radar. Patients are told they're fine, even as they slide toward decline. That's what breaks my heart the most. I've made it my mission to change that conversation, because once you understand the scope of the danger, you realize B12 isn't optional. It's essential. For seniors, it's often the difference between years of independence and years of struggle. And yet, even with this knowledge, another question haunted me. If B12 deficiency is so widespread and the risks so high, why are so many seniors still left untreated? The answer lies in a combination of medical blind spots, modern lifestyle factors, and one surprising misconception that'll uncover next. And once you hear it, you'll never look at normal aging the same way again. I once sat with a family who was desperate for answers. Their mother, a once lively woman in her late 70s, had been slipping away. She was more forgetful, more withdrawn, and had recently fallen twice in her own home. The children asked me through tears, "Doctor, is this Alzheimer's? Is this just what happens now?" Their voices carried the heartbreak of so many families I've spoken with over the years. Here's the truth I had to tell them. Sometimes what looks like Alzheimer's, or dementia, or just old age isn't that at all. Sometimes it's a vitamin deficiency, specifically B12. And when corrected, the transformation can be dramatic. I've seen it again and again. But the tragedy is that too many people never get the chance. Why? Because of one of the most dangerous misconceptions in modern medicine, that if you're not anemic, you can't be deficient in B12. This belief has led to countless misdiagnoses. In reality, neurological and cognitive damage often appears long before anemia ever shows up. By waiting for the classic signs, many doctors miss the earlier, subtler stages where intervention could save someone's independence, their memory, even their life. And then there's lifestyle. Think about it. Seniors today are living longer than ever, but with more medications than ever. 2. Acid blockers, diabetes drugs like metformin, and even certain antibiotics all interfere with B12 absorption. Combine that with diets lower in nutrient-dense foods, and it's no wonder deficiency has become epidemic. Add in the fact that many seniors don't demand deeper testing. They trust the quick reassurance that everything looks fine and you have the perfect storm. I think back to a man named George. He was in his early 80s and had been told his forgetfulness was just normal aging. His daughter insisted on further evaluation, and when we tested him, his B12 levels were barely measurable. Within months of starting treatment, he was sharper, more engaged, and even back to his daily crossword puzzles. His daughter later told me, with tears in her eyes, "I feel like I have my dad back." Stories like George's fuel me, because they prove that what so many people accept as inevitable decline can, in some cases, be reversed. But here's the catch: not every case can be. The longer the deficiency goes untreated, the greater the chance of permanent damage. That's why I call B12 deficiency a thief that must be stopped early. And yet, I can't ignore one final, haunting truth. Even when seniors do get diagnosed, many aren't treated properly. They're given pills that don't absorb. They're told to just eat more meat, even though their stomachs can't extract the vitamin anymore. I've seen patients suffer for years because no one took the time to explain the difference between treatment options. That, to me, is unacceptable. So where does that leave us? It leaves us with both a warning and a promise. The warning is simple. Ignoring B12 deficiency accelerates aging, damages the brain, and steals quality of life. The promise is even more powerful. Restoring it can bring back clarity, energy, and vitality in ways you might not believe until you see it. But now comes the part I want to leave you with. If you're listening to this, you might be wondering, how do I know if this is affecting me? What can I do, starting today, to protect myself or someone I love? Those are the questions that matter most, and the answers may change the way you think about aging forever, because the final piece of this puzzle is just about awareness. It's about action, and in the next part, it'll show you the simple, practical steps every senior and every family can take right now to safeguard health, protect independence, and keep that anti-aging spark alive. If there's one message I want to leave ringing in your ears, it's this: aging does not have to mean surrendering your energy, your memory, or your independence. Too often I see seniors resign themselves to decline, saying, "Well, I guess this is just what happens when you get older." But I've seen with my own eyes that this isn't always true. Sometimes what feels like aging is really something else, something you can act on, something you can correct, and that something is often vitamin B12. the anti-aging vitamin too many seniors are dangerously ignoring. So what can you do, starting today? First, talk to your doctor. Ask for more than just a basic B12 test. Push for homocysteine and methylmalonic acid, because these reveal deficiencies that normal blood work can miss. Don't accept vague reassurances. Your health is too important to leave to chance. Second, consider how you're getting your B12. If you're in your 30s or 40s, food sources may be enough. But if you're over 60, chances are your absorption is already impaired. That means you may need sublingual B12 or even injections. And here's the hopeful part: the body responds quickly. Within weeks, I've seen patients regain color in their faces, strength in their legs, and clarity in their minds. Third, don't wait for the big warning signs. Tingling, weakness, or confusion are late-stage red flags. The best time to act is before you notice those changes. Prevent the deficiency, and you prevent the damage. But here's something I urge you to remember. B12 is just about adding years to your life. It's about adding life to your years. I've seen grandparents who were once too tired to play with their grandchildren suddenly chasing them in the yard again. I've seen couples rediscover joy in simple walks after years of exhaustion. I've seen families light up with hope because their loved one's spark returned. These moments matter. They are why I do what I do. So if you're listening right now, let this be your turning point. Don't brush off your fatigue, your forgetfulness, or your aches as just age. Don't let silent deficiencies rob you of the years you deserve. Take charge. Get tested. Get treated. Protect your future. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. I share these stories not just as a doctor, but as someone who has walked alongside countless families through fear, confusion, and finally, relief. And I can tell you, the sooner you act, the better the outcome. If this message resonated with you, I encourage you to subscribe, share this video, and leave a comment below. Have you or someone you love experienced the hidden effects of B12 deficiency? Your story might be the one that inspires someone else to take action before it's too late. Because at the end of the day, your health is your greatest wealth. It's the foundation for every laugh, every memory, every moment you share with the people you love. And it starts with something as simple, as powerful, as making sure your body isn't starving for the very nutrient that keeps it alive and thriving. Don't let B12 deficiency be the thief that steals your best years. Protect your health, protect your independence, and protect your joy. Your health is your greatest wealth, and it starts today.